Welcome to This Must Be the Place. You can do that. On this week's episode, we have special guest Chey Eisenman of Chey Cabs. We're going to do a little boom times as always. As always. We're going to talk about what constitutes an offer from a real estate perspective, because it's not just,
a number.
Right. And then we're going to get into Neighborhood Watch today, where we have the Northrop Neighborhood, which is an excellent neighborhood.
An excellent neighborhood. Yes, sir.
So if you don't have anything else to add.
This must be the place. Yeah, this must be the place. Ain't no time to waste. Ain't no time to waste. So whether you in Minneapolis or St. Paul, Bloomington to Maple Grove, from the east side to the west side, down south to way up north, let me hear you say, this must be the place. Yeah, this must be the place. This must be the place. Ain't no time to waste.
Hello, and welcome to This Must Be the Place, the only Twin Cities real estate and real estate adjacent podcast, where one of the hosts thinks escrow is a Sheryl Crow cover band. Come on, man, that's good.
Yeah, that one is suspect, man. Escrow.
Every day is a winding road, my friend.
It's starring Maya Rudolph.
Who would play Sheryl Crow in the Sheryl Crow cover band?
Tina Fey. Curl her hair up.
I think it's like a Vanessa Bayer.
I have no idea who that is.
She's a Saturday Night Live alum. She's got a big smile.
During the good seasons?
Yep. All right. We are going to start out today talking about...
We're going to switch it up.
We're going to switch it up. We're going to talk about Neighborhood Watch first.
And now, This Must Be the Place presents Neighborhood Watch.
Today we're going to be talking about the Northrop Neighborhood.
Where is the Northrop?
The Northrop Neighborhood is in South Minneapolis. It is east of 35W. The boundaries, I have them written down here.
You're all about the directions.
Yeah, I'm all about the directions. It borders 42nd Avenue to the north, Cedar Avenue to the east, Minnehaha Parkway to the south, and Chicago Avenue to the west. So it's in a really, really interesting pocket of Minneapolis, central south Minneapolis. And there's an intersection in Northrop that I really love and want to talk a little bit about. 48th in Chicago.
Yeah.
So Chicago, it's a great, there was I believe Racket MN did put out an article of X number of best intersections in the Twin Cities, which was super. It was a great article.
Yeah.
And 48th in Chicago was really high up on the list. I don't know if they ranked them in order, but it was they were talking glowingly about it. There's a lot going on there. The real estate also around 48th in Chicago and in the Northrop neighborhood is interesting as well, because similar to Highland Park, last week you have a lot of tiny bungalows that are 900 square feet, 1,000 square feet, $300,000. And then you can go on to Minnehaha Parkway and you can have Tudors, beautiful, huge, old Tudors that have been updated and remodeled and are $1 million.
Yeah.
So you've kind of got that disparate nature of real estate socioeconomically.
Yep.
And
when we were looking, when my wife and I were looking, pre-kids, we would drive Minnehaha Parkway and always wanted to, we would check out open houses in that neighborhood before we even knew what that neighborhood was, just because even as you drive the parkway there, just kind of how the hill comes down into the parkway there and the houses sit up a little bit from it. It's just it's a pretty cool vibe in terms of the neighborhood itself right along the parkway.
Totally agree. And tons of like I said, the Tudor style home, that's what I think of when I think of Northrop, especially near Minnehaha Parkway.
Sure.
But a lot of different architectural styles throughout the neighborhood. The current median home price is $403,000. So again, that kind of speaks to there's a lot of smaller bungalows. There's a lot of bigger homes as you get closer to the Parkway and everything in between. Generally, relatively affordable.
For one of the cooler neighborhoods in the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
Kind of right in the middle of everything too, like 10-minute drive to Lake Harriet, and I mean maybe even less.
Less. Yeah.
And then 10-minute drive to the other side to
10-minute drive to St. Paul, really.
Yeah.
If you go down Minnehaha Parkway.
Yeah. 10-minute drive to the airport. Like it feels like it's 10 minutes from everywhere.
Totally right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And last year, at this same time, the median home price was $365,000. So people are getting hip to this neighborhood, I think.
Yeah.
Because that's about almost 10% higher year over year just for median home price, which is
not every neighborhood in the city.
No, maybe in 2020 that's how it was going, but not lately. So median price per square foot is around $250 to $260 a square foot. Done with boring data points. That's all I got
what
there.
What do you like? What do you love about? I mean, I know it's centered around 48th in Chicago. So, what are your favorite things in that intersection?
I frankly, so on the southeast corner of 48th and Chicago, sits a little business coffee shop called Sovereign Grounds.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you know, you know. But Sovereign Grounds, I've been going there since my son is 15 now. I've been going there since the day he was born. It's run by an amazing man from originally born and raised in Turkey named Hakan. And it's not only a coffee shop where he roasts his own beans. You can smell it from 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
But they also have an adjacent kids area that's huge.
Yeah.
And if you have a toddler and you want to waste some time and drink some good coffee and talk to some cool parents and have your kid have the time of their life, that's where you go. And obviously I don't go there as much anymore, but Hakan's a stellar dude. I got to know him, and he got to know my son and both my kids actually. And I love it. That's
number one on the list.
That's number one on the list, just because I've got so much history with it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it is really unique. I mean, there are lots of coffee shops in the Twin Cities.
Tons.
It does stand out.
Yeah, for sure. And Hakan, his RIP to his dad now, but his dad, who was fully Turkish, lived in Turkey. I think he passed away a couple years ago, but he was in his 90s. But he used to come visit at least once a year, hang out in the coffee shop. I got to talk to his dad a little bit.
Does Hakan say Turkey-ah now?
No, he still says Turkey.
Okay.
He still says Turkey.
Why did they change it up for the white guys?
I don't know, man. He's a big They Might Be Giants fan because of the Constantinople Istanbul song.
It's a song I haven't thought about in a while.
Yeah, but a couple of other places around there. Turtle Bread, obviously. There's a couple locations around the Twin Cities.
Some of the best soup in the Twin
Such
Cities.
good soup, man.
Yeah, man.
You're totally right.
Yes.
And there's a gift shop there. So it's called, what is it called? 14 Hill.
Is it like patina vibes?
Yeah,
But
yeah. But yeah, more approachable.
Yeah.
Not that patina isn't approachable, but there's just a lot going on at patina. It's huge.
Yeah.
This is much smaller, and anytime I want to do something nice for a client, whether it be like a closing gift or maybe a home purchase anniversary, you just go there, and it's woman-owned, and she's got the coolest, funniest card selection that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Unique. You're not going to see them anywhere else. All sorts of local products. It's great. I love it. It's the coolest gift shop. So
I might have to go there just for the cards. I feel like I've been through every card.
Yeah.
Every card at every gift store / supermarket / Walgreens that I know of. So it might be a stop just for that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. And I want to shout out one more place.
That's it? Just one?
Well, I've got many to talk about, but one more place for sure.
Yeah.
So back in the day,
We got a story out of this?
it's a movie story with 40s and pizza. No, real ones, no. There used to be a place on 48th in Chicago called Pepitos. It shut down a few years ago. I think it was pandemic related. But in its place is Creekside Supper Club. super old school Wisconsin style supper club.
Yeah.
You get a filet mignon, you get a little plate of like pickled vegetables.
Yeah.
You get a martini, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't know. Have you been?
I haven't been.
Yeah.
I've heard good things about it, but I haven't been. Does it have the whole Wisconsin like
Yeah.
vibe, like
Yeah.
wood paneling, like deer antlers, old pictures of
Yes, sir.
teethless people?
Yes. Teethless people. Yep.
I'm thinking old people.
Oh,
not
got
like not. We'll edit that out. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like somewhere that I should go.
Yeah, you should definitely go. I mean, it's a great place for like a date night with your partner,
Sure.
or I mean, you can bring your family, and it's amazing.
Yeah, cool.
What about you?
I love the neighborhood as well. Obviously, I feel like the only like burgery food joint I've been to on that strip there would be Town Hall.
Yep.
Which I was talking to you. It's not the original one, right? The original Seven Corner, but I like it better than the original.
It's really good.
It's like less collegey.
Yeah.
Smells a little less funky than the one on Seven Corners.
Truth.
And it's good. It's a good like low key, quick place to get in and out of. Burger, drink. Good place to take your family, take your kids. So I do like that that's there. There is Irby Butcher's fried chicken.
Which I have not had.
I haven't had it either. I know somebody who swears by it.
Yeah. I've it's the herbivorous butcher.
It's vegan fried chicken.
Yeah.
And normally I would say I'm not in a huge rush to try vegan fried chicken.
Yeah.
But I've heard such good things about this place. I was walking by it the other day because I had another open. Shout out Penelope. Had an open house this weekend, and I was walking by it, and I was like, oh, it looks like a cool little hole in the wall spot that I would want to eat at. And they weren't open, or I would have tried it this weekend. But it is on my list because people have sworn by it. And look, this might be like no shade, right? You watch Parks and Rec?
Yes.
Right. So we might be in a situation where this is Ron Swanson versus Chris Traeger right here, where like Chris is doing all the magic he can for his roasted poblano, like
turkey
Chipotle turkey burger,
Yeah.
and Ron is like, I went to the store, I got some meat, I
And a
put it
bun.
on a bun. Yeah, and they're just like,
And they're like, Ron
this is
wins.
it, right? But I'm really optimistic that this thing is killing it. Even if it's not like fried chicken, just to have that option with the crunch and the just
Yes, sir.
goodness.
Yes. I've only heard good things myself.
Yeah, so I'm excited to try that.
It's a date. Casey and I are gonna go.
Should we live stream
We'll
it?
live stream our date, and we'll report back, and we'll live report and report back.
You got the
afterwards.
Parkway Theater there.
Love the Parkway Theater, man. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Parkway Theater's right there.
I took my son and nephew to see Ghostbusters there like 6 months ago. It was awesome.
The original?
The original, yeah.
Yep. So they do cool stuff like that. A lot of these theaters that we've been talking about, neighborhood theaters, Highland Theater, Riverview,
Yes,
Parkway.
yes.
They do really cool. The Grand Theater, like
Yeah.
they do really cool things. The Heights is another one that comes to mind. So it's not just new releases. They have new releases, but like they show classic films, or for Halloween they'll do something special for Halloween, or show Ghostbusters, or
Yeah, and at the
Freddy and
Parkway,
Jason
they've
stuff.
got they'll have like stand-up comedy, like Aparna Nancherla performed
I
there.
think Jeremy Messersmith is playing
There you
there,
go.
too. Right, so very cool place to check out. And then there's other stuff in the area, right? You want some ice cream, there's a really cool ice cream shop called Pump House Creamery. You want
Bagu
some
Sushi.
Bagu Sushi's right around the corner. So if you live within that area, there's just so much stuff there where you really don't have to get in a car to go have a date night or a night out, or everything is running late and you can't get dinner on the table and it's just a pain in the ass and you got whatever, right? Like 2-block walk and you've got a ton of cool options.
Yep.
So love the neighborhood. In addition to just the neighborhood itself, like you said, affordability. You don't get a ton of airport noise, even though it's South Minneapolis. The Minnehaha Creek is right there, so lots of cool like green space and walking and biking and all
And like
that
you
other
said,
stuff.
10 minutes to everywhere.
Yep, 10 minutes everywhere. 10 minutes to downtown. Like, that might be the new. Should we change the segment name to 10 Minutes to Everywhere? That wouldn't work for everywhere.
That's not a
though.
bad idea.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea, Casey.
What's the group? 10 Minutes to Mars? Is that a group?
Yep.
Or am I confusing Mars Volta
from
and 10 Minutes to something else?
30 Seconds to Mars
There we
is
go.
the band, the emo band.
Different than Mars Volta.
Yes, they're from Mars Volta, I believe, is from Austin.
Is that Jared Leto?
That's 30 Seconds to Mars.
God damn it.
Claire Danes
She's
was in a
Mars
show
Volta?
with Jared Leto. No.
Okay. All right, so yeah, Northrop.
Northrop, we love it. We'll report back about Herbie Butchers.
Yep, and it gets the JP stamp of approval.
All right.
Do you want to talk a little real estate? Or you want to get into boom times?
We can talk real estate quick. We'll
Okay.
keep it brief.
All right. So this week we want to talk about.
Hold on.
Oh, what do we got?
I'm texting a client currently.
Oh.
Let's keep this in.
So in case you didn't know this, Andrew and I are both realtors with Coldwell Banker, Lake's office, and we're good. We're good at what we do. And we don't stop the podcast just because we have client interaction.
Certainly not.
We make the client interaction part of the podcast.
Yeah.
Because all of our clients know
I have a buyer that texts me.
the only
I gotta text them back.
the only realtor that matters is a realtor with a podcast.
Truth.
So that's the kind of service you can look forward to mid-podcast texting.
Yep. You just texted me back.
You want to read this, or is that violate confidentiality?
I think that's violating some kind of fiduciary duty
Yes.
on the
Okay.
old car spectrum. But
So we're going to talk about what constitutes an offer. And you're talking with a buyer, right? Are you guys thinking about putting an offer on something?
yeah. That's what this is about.
Okay.
We are talking about this will go into boom times a little bit just with timing from last night. But we were looking at a home last night, and he was just texting me with some questions.
Sure.
I said, I'm going to big time you here because I'm recording a podcast. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Just kidding. But
Your home purchase is going to have to wait, sir.
yeah.
We're recording.
We've got a hierarchy of importance here. The customer is right below the podcast. Just kidding.
I was going to say, hopefully by now they know.
Certainly not. Certainly not. So we're going to talk today about what is an offer, because
Yep.
the buyer I was just texting with is considering submitting an offer on a property. An offer is many things,
Sure.
When you think about an offer, if you're not a realtor, at least when I wasn't a realtor, you're like, okay, what is it offered at? $300,000? What do we offer? That's
450.
tip of the iceberg. Yeah. No, there's layers to the onion, right? And the purchase price is just one of them. There's many things that go into it.
Yeah. First off, any buyer that is looking to make an offer, first and foremost, number one thing you have to have is pre-approval, right?
Correct.
And if it's a cash offer, verification of funds.
Correct.
Right? Any realtor that takes themselves seriously or knows what they're doing is not gonna let the conversation proceed to let's make an offer before you have that verification of funds or pre-approval letter, because no matter what your offer is, if you don't have that when you're submitting that to the listing agent, that listing agent's not going to take that offer seriously. So you can say, okay, this is a $300,000 house, I want to make a $500,000 cash offer. Mm-hmm. But if you can't verify those funds, a listing agent's going to be like, I don't know, doesn't seem right. And they're going to go to the next offer. Like, it won't even get you started.
It won't even get, it's a non-starter.
The number one thing you need is a pre-approval letter. And how you get a pre-approval letter is talk to a lender, right? A lender is going to take you through a bunch of steps in their application process, soft credit pulls, and kind of look at your debt to income ratio and what you can afford.
Casey, let's say I'm a buyer and I want a lender that I can trust that's going to be accountable and communicative. What's my best way to find a lender like that?
I would say Google best lenders 2024. And then when that doesn't work out so well for you, I would say call Andrew or I.
There we go.
Right?
That's what I was looking for.
Because
I was panicking when you first started talking.
Because again, like a lot of people are under this misconception that we're tied in with lenders because there are kickbacks happening or there's, it's not how it works. It's very legal, and the only thing that matters to Andrew and I, and any good realtor, but Andrew and I in specific, is that the lender does their job, they do it well, they do it in a timely fashion, and they are communicative to not only you as a buyer, but to us as real estate agents and closing agents, right? So there is constant communication between all parties involved.
And we know those lenders.
Yeah, we do. And if they don't do a good job for you, we can call them up at 10 o'clock on a Wednesday night and say, hey, man, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's right.
What are we doing here? Get it going.
Is this a PG-13 podcast now? Or?
No, I'll beep it out. But, like those who know me know that that's probably what I would say. Because we want them to do a good job for you. So
absolutely.
Talk to a lender, go through the process, get your pre-approval letter, and then we can go to the next part of the process, right?
And talking to a lender and getting a pre-approval letter, they'll help you know, okay, if I'm buying a house for this amount and putting this much down, what is my monthly mortgage payment going to be? That's all you care about anyway.
Yep.
Lender helps you with that.
Yeah, they're going to give you a breakdown of like what to expect and wrap all the fees and everything into that, so your mind isn't blown when it comes to closing and you think your payment's one thing and it's something else. Like, you're going to have a really good understanding of what your financials are day one from a good lender. So you have to figure out how much money you want to put down on the house, right?
Yeah, down
or property,
payment.
Right? Or earnest money is applied to the
earnest money is
offer.
a good faith deposit
Yes.
that goes towards your down payment at closing.
Yep.
Although you have to pay it up front,
Yep.
those funds
Credit.
are escrowed, Sheryl Crow cover band,
Yes.
into the closing and will be applied towards the down payment. So let's generally a good earnest money amount, that good faith deposit, it needs to be deposited within 2 days of when an offer is accepted by the seller and you're in contract.
Yep. What do you look for in terms of, do you typically use a percentage or something?
I use a percentage. If I'm representing a buyer, the more the better, but generally, especially if they're first-time home buyers, aren't going to be super flush with cash. So 1.5%, 2% is a really good number. So for a $500,000 house, $7,500 of earnest money, I think that is everybody's happy scenario.
Can earnest money differentiate your offer, right? Multiple offer situation, both $500,000 houses, both offers, we don't know the other party's offer, both offers at asking price. One party offers earnest money of $7,500, the other party offers $10,000, right? Those can be little separating factors within offers to put you in a better position. Remember last podcast we talked about listing a house and taking pictures in the winter, and any little competitive advantage, something you might want to consider if you can't go over asking. You know your budget, you're clear about your budget. You don't want to disrespect yourself by going over your budget and putting yourself in a bad situation. Maybe one thing you can do is up the earnest money. Another thing you can do is use a shorter closing date, which is another thing that is involved in an offer. What is the closing date?
The closing date is when your agent, if you're a buyer, when you and your agent are putting together the offer, the agent needs a whole bunch of information from you. One of those pieces of information is a closing date to put on the offer. It's a negotiable thing, obviously, but the closing date is the date in which you as the buyer sign all of the documents that say the house is yours. It's the date that the house is yours. And most often it is the day that the buyers take occupancy. Not always, but 95% of the time. And that closing date sometimes gets negotiated back and forth. I like to equate everything to, have I ever told you this? I equate everything to a game of ping pong.
Are you good at ping pong?
I'm pretty good at ping pong, dude.
I'm very good at ping pong.
Are you serious?
Yes. I have a ping pong table in my house. My son and his friends have never beaten me.
Yeah.
And I'm I'm pretty damn good at ping pong.
I'd have to.
Do we need to?
We need to do this too. I need to learn your house rules too, because every house has different.
I'm an Olympic rule kind of guy. Oh, I don't even know what the Olympic rules are.
I don't either.
5 serves, 21.
Yeah,
that's all I got. What are the rules
5 serves and then switch. Anyway, well, this is a topic for a different day, but nonetheless, a very interesting topic.
Okay,
in
yes.
which I really want to beat the shit out of Casey.
We can live stream that. Except how bad would it be for the listeners to just hear?
Just me swearing because I'm losing.
All right. So back to the story about equating it to ping pong.
Oh yeah. So any offer, I equate it to ping pong. I'm like, we're hitting the ball onto their side of the table. They can hit it back. And that's kind of how it goes. It's kind of a coordinated dance where when you're negotiating, it goes from one side to the other until you can agree to terms. And one of those terms is closing date. Sometimes sellers want to close in 25 days. Sometimes sellers want 3 months.
What a simple little metaphor.
It's not bad, right?
It's, I hope it's
hitting the ping pong ball.
It's,
Maybe I should stop using that.
So we got two main components of the offer left, right? The purchase price, and I said down payment earlier, I meant earnest money, but the purchase price and the actual down payment, right? What are you offering for the house? Are you going above list? Are you going asking price? Or do you feel that the house is overpriced and you want to offer less, right?
And you'll talk with your agent about that.
Yep.
You know, a lot goes into that too. Like, has it been on the market a day or has it been on the market 100 days?
Yep.
That's going to affect what your offer is.
Yep. What the other comps in the area show.
Yeah. What value is showing.
Do they have any updates to the property that would make you want to pay more? Price per square footage wise, if they just redid their kitchen, maybe that's the case. If the kitchen is from 1984, unless that's your jam, maybe not. So you need to figure out your purchase price and your down payment, which is a percentage of the purchase price.
Anywhere you can do anywhere. If you're a physician, you can, or if you get down payment assistance, you can do $0. You can do 0%.
Right?
Yeah.
Zero.
Veterans. Yep. You can do anywhere from 0 to 3 to 5 to 10 to 20, all the way up to all cash.
And if you want to avoid private mortgage insurance, which is an additional cost on your mortgage until you hit 20% equity in the house, you can put 20% down.
And then that gets rid of that.
Yep. So all of those things get bundled into the offer, right? The purchase offer.
So anyway, there's way more stuff to talk about when it comes to offers, little things here and there, you know, whether it be personal property left behind, whether it be does the buyer have to sell their house to buy a house?
Yep, the contingencies in your offer, whether you're going to have to, I mean, most properties are contingent on an inspection, which you're going to waive it. So there are lots of little things nuances that go into it. But the main components of the offer are generally those 5 things.
Yep.
And they get bundled together, sent through AuthentiSign or DocuSign, get some signatures on it, and get to the listing agent. So.
And hopefully get that offer accepted.
Yeah.
Welcome to Boom Times, a segment called Boom Times.
But I have a couple of topics to talk about for Boom Times. Number one, the local male basketball professional squad, the Timberwolves, the Minnesota Timberwolves. They've got 4 games on the books. The season just started. I want to get your opinion as, you know, you're an insider because you live here, but you're kind of an outsider because you were born and raised 76ers fan.
Yes, I bring perspective to my Timberwolves fans.
That's right. That's what we need because I've started every year since the Timberwolves started in 1989 or whatever.
It's the year.
Thinking they're going to go 82-0. So I need somebody to bring me down off my high expectation horse.
I love the team. I think if Edwards,
they're 2-2 by the way.
Yes, they're 500 right now. And one of those losses is to the Mavs, who obviously is like some weird sort of kryptonite. Maybe at this point, maybe it's just a mental thing.
This is a whole other podcast.
And so I think
about my hatred for Luka Doncic. Respectful hatred.
So The team is good. I like the makeup of the team. I like the defensive makeup of the team. Despite Karl Anthony Towns spending his whole career here, I like the trade for multiple reasons. They weren't winning anything with Cat. I just want to get that off the table. Like, I used to catch slander for that. He is a great offensive player. He is sometimes a defensive liability, and he is
More often than not.
always a decision-making liability, especially when it comes down to moments that matter in games. He generally has been in big moments on the wrong side of making the right decision at the right time. And so I don't think it was a bad move for two reasons. One, Julius Randle provides a little bit of defensive intensity and a little bit of attitude that Cat didn't bring. Even if as a defender, he's not necessarily an upgrade. If he's a lateral move, he brings a little bit
Different
more
kind of defender, though.
physicality, a little and an attitude that I like from them. And if we can keep him
And
out,
Dante's attitude, too.
well, so that was if we can keep Randall in the team first mode, because sometimes in New York he had the ability to kill the ball, right? So like
I see bits of that
it was
already.
sticky, right? So like the great thing about the Timberwolves, they have one guy who kills the movement of the ball, and it's Edwards, right? When he wants to cook, he's going to cook, but he's a unique kind of player that can do that, and he'll go get you a bucket. Randall can do that, but sometimes Randall can't. So if he can keep the ball from getting stuck on him for 12 seconds of Randall ISO ball into a
Gets it at the top of the
fadeaway
key.
jumper.
Turns his back,
Yes.
dribbles to the basket, tries to do some flashy moves,
So if they
gets the
can
ball
keep
stolen.
him from doing that, with the addition of DiVincenzo, who's everything the Wolves needed. He hit more threes last year than anyone has ever hit in a Wolves uniform ever in the history of the Wolves franchise.
Preach.
And he's only getting better.
Yep.
And I like the toughness that he brings to the team.
He's a
as
good
well.
defender, too.
He's a very good defender. So I like what they did. I think it's going to take a little time to gel. You hear it first. I wouldn't be surprised if they move off of Randall's contract towards the trade deadline to address maybe what they think that they need at that moment, especially if we get into more ISO ball Randall. But right now it looks like he fits great. I think they're going to be just fine. I think they're going to be one of the teams that come out of the West. I think Denver's cooked. I think they're done.
It's not a good start for Denver.
I think the Mavs, if you can keep Luka and Kyrie healthy, fine. But
And they
now
got
Clay
Clay.
is a question mark with health to that. And I think the Thunder are very, very, very good.
Dude, the Thunder are so good.
You got the Mavs, you got the Wolves, you got the Thunder. Those are, I think, your three legits in the West.
I think that's
my
Did you
personal
practice
opinion.
that? That was really good.
I
Like in front of the mirror?
No.
That was good.
I study basketball, man. Like
Yeah.
I'm a huge Sixers fan, obviously. Like I'm dying to see my team take the floor because Joel and
What the
Paul
hell's
George,
going on?
It's what
It's
it is.
cryptic messaging from the coach.
Last year we were 9-1 and everything was amazing and we were the best team ever, and you saw how it ended. Okay, so please, I'll deal with my frustration right now. Be unhealthy now. Be healthy when it counts. Let Maxey cook. I'm good with it.
I agree with everything you said. It took me a couple of days to sit with the trade when it happened. After watching these first 4 games, I like the trade. I'm glad it happened. Cat he's never an alpha, never was going to be an alpha. Never. It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
It's fine. It's not in his DNA.
And they didn't need him to be with Ant, right?
No, not necessarily. But like you said, and he played great D against Jokic in the playoffs last year. But other than that, he got way too many dumb fouls. He would slap wrists by half court. He'd foul out of games. He'd take bad shots. He'd miss shots. He'd complain and mope. And anyway,
So
I'm glad that's over.
Knicks fans are like, can't wait for Timberwolves fans to realize that it's 15 seconds of
ISO Julius
go time,
Yeah.
and Timberwolves fans are like, can't wait till the Knicks catch a dumb foul 40 feet from the basket with 3 seconds left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
right.
never perfect, but But I think
But no,
they got a shot.
I think what I've seen from Julius is you're exactly right. When like the good of Julius when he's bombing threes, and he can make quick decisions when he's driving to the hoop is like chef's kiss.
I think he's playing with a chip on his shoulder this year too,
Yeah.
because like he was the dude that started this resurgence in New York. I know Brunson is the guy that's there now and
Yeah.
gets the love and the accolades.
No,
but
it
it was
was
Randall
Julius.
that went there first.
Yep. And he was second team All NBA, I think 2 years. So he's a great player, and Dante's great. Ant is the love of my life. Sorry, Sarah. I just love Anthony Edwards so much. And last night I was at a showing. I got back to my house after the showing, and there was 1:45 left in the first quarter, and Anthony Edwards, they were saying, has 20 points.
Yeah.
Then he scored
24
more.
in the first.
Then he scored 4
Yeah.
more. He didn't do a whole lot after that offensively, but just, I mean, he's taking way more threes than he
Yep.
ever has. He's
Yep.
not hardly taking any mid-range shots
Yep.
anymore. The biggest problem is he's not driving to the hoop as much as he was last year and previous years, which he needs to do. I mean, he's not Klay Thompson.
They'll get
He
there. I
shouldn't
think they're
just be
figuring it
trying to
out.
shoot threes only.
Yep.
But yeah, they're getting there, and 2-2.
Season's young.
Boom times. I want to.
Wolves Weekly. Ooh.
It's alliterative,
Okay.
man. I'm sure it exists somewhere else.
Yeah.
But there's an author I've been quite obsessed with named S.A. Cosby.
You don't read.
I never learned.
You
This
listen.
is all a
Audiobooks. Okay.
no. I read
Okay.
with my eyes and paper books
Okay. All right.
that I check out from the library. S.A. Cosby, not
Not Bill.
Heathcliff Huxtable.
Okay. Okay.
He's a writer from Virginia, and he's written, I believe, 4 novels, and he's amazing. What, are you laughing at the Heathcliff Huxtable comment?
I'm thinking of like your book, and I'm thinking S.A. Cosby, and the book is something like, I took the jello pudding from the pops
Oh,
and put
Lord.
them in the thing, and it was delicious.
S.A. Cosby.
Okay.
Let's get the other Cosby talk out of here.
Sorry.
But he writes these amazing novels. They're like super like pulpy noir crime novels that are like cinematic.
What's this one
And,
called?
Well, I've read 3 of the 4
Oh,
all
you're just
recently.
plugging the author.
I'm just plugging the author,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
His most recent one is called All the Sinners Bleed, but it deals with race and the South and violence and atonement and character flaws. And anyway, all of his books are amazing. They're winning tons of awards. They're getting optioned for movies, so you're going to be seeing those. And get in on the ground floor with me before he becomes the next Stephen King.
Is it on audiobook?
I don't know.
Probably is.
Probably.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to do.
What do you got for boom times?
You know, I'm going to keep it really short this week. I have voting. So, pretty simple. Go vote. Same day registration can happen in the Twin Cities or in Minnesota. Go vote. Make your voice be heard. Vote for the local leaders and representatives that you want. Vote for the national leaders and representatives that you want. And go vote. It's important.
Today, for our special guest, we have Chey Eisenman. Did I pronounce that right?
Yep.
AKA Chey Cab, as everybody else knows her. Chey and our paths crossed in, 17 years ago.
That long. Oh, yeah, you're right. It
I
was.
know. It was 2007.
Yeah.
We were waiting tables together. I was kind of on my way out, and she was on her way in at a little place in Uptown called Chino Latino, which everybody might remember. It was an iconic restaurant back in the day. It was kind of like a place to see and be seen.
Kept my dating
See and
pipeline
be
full.
seen. Yeah, right?
I won't lie.
Yeah.
For the people that work there or the people that frequented
The people
there?
that frequented there.
Okay,
yeah.
My profile of guys ate at Chino Latino.
There you go.
Yeah.
It was great.
Okay.
Like,
PhD, MBA,
Yeah.
light, darker skinned men. They all
That
ate
was
at
your- that was
Chino
their
Latino.
spot, yeah.
World men. Yes, that was
Yeah,
the place.
yeah.
Because the cuisine, right? Like, not only the vibe there, but you could get something
Foods
from like
yes.
foods. What was the
tagline?
Street
Shane?
foods from the
Street
equator?
foods from the hot zone.
There
Foods
we
from the
go.
hot
Yeah,
zones. That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So it was for those of you that don't remember it or weren't familiar. It was definitely like, at least especially for us working there, it was like a party. Like it wasn't even like work when we went there, really.
Absolutely. And before my time, like it was like lots of cocaine was done in the bathrooms there. A lot of celebrities went there.
Oh, yeah.
Even when I was working there, it was a lot of celebrities. I had a day job in the North Loop, and then I worked at Chino at night. But I made just as much working part-time at Chino as a server than I did at my day job in salary.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun. It was fun.
It was ahead of its time for
the halcyon
for
days. That's when like I think my third shift or something, Lindsay Lohan came in and had dinner, and
Vince Vaughn came in a lot.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely the place for a while. So that's where Chey and I originally met, and she, since our time together and since her time at Chino Latino, has gone on to bigger and brighter things, and she now owns and proprietor and has employees under Chey Cab.
Chey Car.
Chey Car?
Yep. So I used to, in the beginning, I was a cab driver.
Oh, this is embarrassing.
So the last decade or so, I've been on the limo side.
It's the upgrade, man.
It's the upgrade.
Yeah. But I started out as a cab driver, and people followed me on Twitter and stuff for my Chey Cab tweets.
Yes.
And so
that's how I knew you.
the Chey Cab thing, even though I'm on the car service side now. Yep.
And I knew you were on the car service side, of course, but I thought you still went with Chey Cab. Okay.
That's okay.
Awesome. Well, tell us about kind of how that came to be.
Yeah, it was actually, I had gotten laid off from my tech job, and honestly, it was Halloween 2009, and I got laid off a couple months before, but I started this weekend 15 years ago driving taxi. But I started driving taxi as a joke. I went to go rent a cab, kind of as a little bit of a prank, and they wouldn't rent to me because I was a female. And I was like, hold on, this is 2009. This is illegal. But yeah, that industry was so archaic and at times corrupt and almost mafia-like.
Really?
And so, yeah, they didn't want to give me a cab because I was a woman. And so I was like, well, I'm going to get a cab and I'm going to show you.
They would have let you work the dispatch, though.
What's that?
They would have let you work the dispatch as a woman.
Oh, probably. But those
That's
people.
some
I feel like that's what they.
1950
it was
funneled people.
so fascinating. And there was this garage of Ethiopian guys in North Minneapolis how they made their living is renting out cabs to folks like me and other folks for like $600 a week. And they don't make their money off people calling for cabs, but just off renting the cabs physically. And I was told they were desperate for drivers and they wouldn't even call me back. And so I got green and white to kind of like push them to call me back. And so they put me in like the worst cab. I mean, I went to put a dog in this cab, and it was burning a quart of oil a day, and it was about ready to go to the junkyard. And what they were hoping was the cab itself was worth maybe $500, but if I would burn up the engine, then they could charge me like $2,500 and make money off of me. So I put in oil every day, and then when I came to pay my lease a week later, I paid the lease in full. I, of course, cleaned up the cab as much as was possible, and I gave them receipts for all the oil I bought. And I had 3 Egyptian guys, like, with the hood up, looking at the dipstick, just puzzled as all get out that I hadn't blown up the engine that week. And so that was my 15 years ago this week was my start. And I started driving as a joke, obviously, and people were really thirsty for a better experience. Yeah. And it wasn't hard to overachieve. You show up, people can text you for a ride, you take a credit card, you can find the airport, people could DJ their music on an iPad. I had like this glowing red light in my taxi, and drunk people thought that was cool.
So you made it like an experience for
yeah,
people
so
right
like
off the bat.
before Uber, like the Chey Cab was like the thing, right? And there was a group of people 24/7, which you probably heard of in Minneapolis, a bunch of hipsters that drive around, and they still do what I do. They stayed kind of on the cab side, and I moved over to the car service side. But yeah, and then I started driving, and people took my number, and it just kind of I don't know, there was like this momentum.
How quickly did it become like this is full-time income and then some?
Oh, within 6 months. And we were in a recession. Keep in mind, no one was deep recession.
Right.
No one was going to the airport. Nobody was doing anything, but people were drinking.
Yeah.
People were
Sure.
drinking because that's all there was to do and all you could afford to do. And people were getting DUIs like crazy. This is before Uber. And so I was making so much money off people that got DUIs and
Sure.
then had to use me.
Sure.
Well, I know it sounds terrible, but that's where the money was then. Because it wasn't until August of 2011 that people started flying again in a non-recessionary way for work and personal. So I got my start driving strippers to work and driving drunks. I mean, and I had lots of relationships with bartenders around
Sure.
town who would call me.
Sure.
Because it's hard to get a cab and like out in the suburbs and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. That's a great origin story. And now kind of tell us about what your business is now. What employees you have or how many employees you have, how many vehicles you have. How do you track like how many miles you put on in a particular
You went from
month,
a
year?
dirty ass cab with a disco ball to like an Escalade Empire of sorts.
Escalade Empire. Well, I wouldn't say that. So I have an Escalade now, and that's the only vehicle that I own under my corporation. And then I have about 7 primary drivers. They're all contractors.
Okay.
So they
okay.
own their own vehicles. In our industry, it's kind of broken up into 2 types of chauffeurs. The kind that punch a clock at a big limo company. Maybe, that's just what they do. Maybe they're retired and they go and drive limo part-time. And then you have what we call the IOs, so the independent operator chauffeurs. These are different than the kind of chauffeurs you'd find. I wouldn't call them chauffeurs, the kind of people you'd order on Uber Black. The Uber Black driver doesn't do traditional chauffeur work. You'll rarely see them in the limo area at the airport, only if they're getting an Uber. They don't have they don't do traditional chauffeur work. They are more like cab drivers and limos, if that makes sense. But the IOs, what I've discovered is if you can, it's about $130,000 per vehicle to break it even each year. Pre-COVID, it was more like $75,000, but our costs have just skyrocketed since COVID. So you need to be at least doing at least 120 G a year just to break even, more like 130 for most people.
Is that like insurance costs and everything?
Yeah,
just gone
vehicle
up?
costs have gone way up, everything,
Crazy.
insurance. And so the type of driver that can maintain a business expense of plus 100K a year generally has more fries in their Happy Meal, if that makes sense. And so those type of chauffeurs perform on a higher level than, say, your garage hourly guy punching a clock for 12 bucks an hour, or the guy doing Uber in his beat up Suburban or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's like the high-end bartender who really is like a mixologist versus...
And chances are, if a celebrity's in town or a high-profile person, someone on my immediate or secondary team probably handled the order. No, you'll never see me posting, I had so-and-so last night.
Sure. You
You'll
don't, no.
I never have, never will.
Just the anonymity.
Yeah, I might do a blind tweet.
Sure.
And I won't do it like the day after I had Stevie Wonder in the car or whoever. I just said Stevie Wonder because he was in town this week. I didn't drive him, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I might do a blind tweet where this one time a celebrity was at Hazleton and blah blah blah. But
Yeah, I
no
see
one
those
will.
every now
But
and
no
then,
one
yeah.
will ever know who.
How does it work for I have, on the recording studio side, I have clients in town who need Ubers or whatever, right? Need cars and they prefer Escalades and nice cars.
Yeah.
But they need it immediately when they need it, not necessarily pre-planned. How does it work if, say, an artist is in town for a recording session or something? Do you just kind of hang out outside? Is it a per day thing? Do they have options with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so generally, whenever somebody local is booking for a celebrity or something, we always advise people that you book it hourly as directed, because celebrities and such, they just expect to have a car dedicated to them and just waiting at the curb on their timetable.
Yeah.
And so hourly service, dedicated service is what you're talking about.
Okay.
So it would be prearranged in the sense that like you would book the car starting at 8 a.m. on Monday, the whatever.
And then it's just their car.
And it's just their car until they're done.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah, I always wondered how, you know what I mean, if there was, how you would do that if you don't treat it like a traditional car service then where you're on call to call. It's kind of...
Yeah, and so car service is all prearranged.
Yeah.
Like you, occasionally a client will like, the type of last minute stuff we see is like the client that's like, I wasn't coming back on the 9 p.m. flight, but I was able to get standby on the 5 p.m. Can you guys pick me up at 5 p.m. instead? And then we just move it from 9 p.m. to 5 p.m. and assign a different driver.
Gotcha.
But the type of service you're talking about is dedicated service.
Do you handle all those logistics? Is that your primary role now? Or are you out
I do it all. I drive, I bill, I do it all. Yeah.
Yeah, and you kind of have your finger on the pulse. I like, especially following you on Twitter, is like what's going on with airlines, what's going on at the airport, because
we live there.
Yeah, you live there, and things change all the time, right?
Yeah.
In terms of consistency with timing for certain airlines, and like you said, you live there, so how often do you go in and out?
Many times a day.
Really?
Yes, many times a day. In fact, like if there's any sort of trend that we're seeing, like let's say airline performance, like there was a period of years where Sun Country, we started calling them shit country.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't make up.
It was a shit show.
You couldn't make up the shit show. It was so bad. And but we are the first to see if there's something broken or something has changed, we are the first to see it.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize too is we have clients, coming into our cars or getting out of our cars, having these flying experiences, who are also giving us real-time feedback of what's happening. And so even if on their end of the experience, so we have the airport experience, tracking flights, whatever on our end, but even on their end of the experience, if something changes or something is happening, clients love to tell us all about their highs and lows of their flying experience and their airport experience. So we hear it from them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you the... figure out a decent way to say this. Like, are you the tastemaker in terms of directing people that come into town for the cool places to go, the best places to eat, the neighborhoods you want to be at? So are you the one that almost plays that tastemaker role? Or do you just kind of, do they know what's up and because of them knowing what's up, you know what's up because you're taking people to these places? Or is it like a little bit of both, if that makes sense?
Well, I feel like in the situation of what you described, it's more of a situation of we are acting like kind of a host.
Okay.
People want to know what we think they should do and where they should go.
Gotcha.
And they want us to kind of curate that a little bit. So we do have more influence than you'd think in that regard. And then on the local side, it's a mix and sometimes even more the other way because the clients are telling us we like this over here, but they also come to us and ask for recommendations of what they should do and to plan a date night or whatever, what's something cool that I can do? And I'm like, well, you go to Holman Field and take a helicopter ride with your lady, or you could do the Minneapolis taxi, or a lot of people don't even know about the Minneapolis taxi.
Yeah.
Water taxi, sorry.
On the river,
the river, the water taxi. Yeah. So
I don't know about the water taxi.
Oh, it's so cool.
I'm a St. Paul guy.
Yeah, he's a St. Paul guy. I'm a Minneapolis guy.
We need a water taxi in St. Paul. That would be so cool.
Yeah, it would.
I'm a St. Paul girl. So.
Where would you go?
Well, even the water taxi in Minneapolis, they just do kind of this loop. They go down the river and then back
North
up.
Loop, right?
Above the falls.
Above the falls, yeah.
Yep, above the falls. But yes,
it's like a boat. Is it like a scenic boat trip tour, or is it actually like I'm going from Boom Island, you're gonna drop me off downtown? They can't really do that.
No, they have a dedicated place that you meet from Boom Island.
Yeah.
And then they go for a 45, 50-minute ride, and you can bring your own liquor and charcuterie board, and it's kind of romantic. You can fit up to 6
cool.
people.
Yeah.
So it's a private boat ride.
Okay.
And it's just a lovely summer evening thing to do.
That sounds cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
I always thought you had to be on bigger boats to charter something off the Boom Island,
Yeah.
Like the
So if anybody's listening that wants to do a St. Paul water taxi, I will promote the hell out of it. I will support it. I think
Supply
that's
and
so
demand.
We
awesome.
can get that happening.
All right.
Pick up at
The Minneapolis
the
folks are
marina by
busy.
Shepherd. Yeah.
Yeah, they're so busy.
I know. I keep it crosses my timeline more and more and more that Minneapolis taxi on whether it be from like Racket or Minneapolis St. Paul magazine or something like that. I keep reading.
Should we get a boat
reading things
going?
about
Should we
it.
be realtors and boat operators?
I don't think you should have said that out loud on camera. I think we got to keep that on the down low.
Boat, man.
But I think we should. Chey, also, I just
Yeah.
wanted to ask you about like, what are you seeing in terms of people from out of town in terms of desirability for areas of the Twin Cities? Are they still wanting to? Because I have kind of like a little side hustle where I have I deal with relocation clients, and part of my job is I deal primarily with physicians, and when they're as part of their interview package, they are allocated what's called a city tour with a realtor.
Which is kind of like what I told you.
Kind of like what you do.
Companies
Yes.
hire us to do. That's so
Yes.
funny. Okay.
Yes. So
Sorry to take the-
No.
sorry.
But I do the same thing, and I am allocated 2 hours with them.
Okay.
And I kind of ask them a little Q&A beforehand, but most of the time I've got like a boilerplate tour that I do, and I offer that, and then I say, well, if you want to see a specific neighborhood due to school districts or something, we can do that too. But my boilerplate tour, and they talk to me while I do it, and I generally stick to Minneapolis and St. Paul, and I do the downtown and Northeast and the lakes and Mini Haha Parkway and St. Paul, Grand Avenue, downtown, Summit, all that stuff. But in terms of desirability, for me, what I see with physicians is, especially if they have families, they're still looking at schools. And in their because of fair housing, Casey and I can't talk about like what's a good school district and what's a bad. But in terms of desirability, what I'm seeing is like still Edina and Wayzata
The scores
and
dictate
Minnetonka. Are you seeing any different trends with like desirability for certain pockets of the Twin Cities?
Edina is number one for
Yeah.
doctors and their families. We're talking just doctors only.
Yeah.
Just doctors only. Edina is number one. Interestingly enough, we do see a lot of doctors who want more of the suburban life, either picking Woodbury or Maple Grove. Some send their kids to Providence. Some, you know what I mean? Like there's a little bit of that going on. But Woodbury and Maple Grove are kind of, in terms of like, Woodbury and Maple Grove are very similar suburbs. Even though they're in different parts of the metro, they have a similar profile.
Yeah.
And they have,
you can find new construction there where you can't find in
and there's
other
a
parts.
variety of middle class. There's you know what I'm saying? You have all the flavors of middle class. And like South Washington School District, I think it's South Washington or whatever's out there.
South Washington, yeah.
Yeah,
Plus
it's
Woodbury?
Next to
a
Stillwater. Woodbury has both,
Yeah.
but
solid school district. Matamita is solid, but we haven't seen a ton of doctors relocating there. We're seeing, interesting thing you mentioned, Woodbury. There's a couple of new construction pockets of Woodbury where we've seen multiple families move in, generally elder millennials with kids, relocating here to get ahead of climate change. And some of those
Woodbury in specific.
yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, we were seeing some of those same profile of people moving into the city as well. But if you want a bigger house, and you want a good school district, and you blah blah blah, new construction, you kind of need to be in some of those suburbs.
You do.
and you aren't going to have to pay $2 million like you would in Edina.
right.
So there's one neighborhood in Woodbury that's fascinating to me. There's this one block, and it's all new construction, and like I think everybody moved in like a year ago, and there's multiple families on this one block that have relocated from other states to get ahead of climate change.
Are they coming from like Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Arizona, Texas kind of stuff? Or
Primarily like, I'm thinking, what is the one family? I want to say they're from Salt Lake, but it might not be Salt Lake. Somewhere in that vicinity.
Okay.
And then there's Seattle, there's Portland, San Francisco. We're seeing more West Coast relocation. We're not seeing yet like people from Arizona moving up here yet. I don't think Arizona realizes yet what's coming down the pipe for them. I drove some climatologists earlier this year that came for some symposium or something,
They're running out of water, aren't they?
What's that?
They're running out of water.
Yes, and one of the climatologists said something about the potential for mass migration to start as early as the 2030s in the Phoenix area.
Oh man!
And think about all of our parents who are buying retirement homes down there right now. And we've had a couple clients buy in the Phoenix area recently, and they bought and they found out that they have water issues in their neighborhood and have to truck in water, and they didn't know that when they bought. And so the water, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we start to see more. I know it's hot down there right now, like a hot place to live. Everybody wants to be.
Yeah, they do,
But at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if it starts to flip and we start people relocating here. But right now, it's primarily West Coast people that are relocating here.
I always thought Duluth was the big place where people wanted to be from climate change, not necessarily the city's metro. So it's interesting.
But we have more to offer in the metro.
Sure.
You know, so if you're trying to get ahead of it and you don't want to be in a place that's horribly cold
I was
in the
going
winter.
to say it's 15% less shitty.
Yeah, it's not as harsh in the Twin Cities as it is in Duluth.
Yeah.
Sorry if we got off on a tangent there.
No, I love tangents. Interesting. Okay, yeah, I see a little bit of that too with Woodbury and Maple Grove being kind of similar, even though they're at opposite east-west ends of the Twin Cities or whatever. But similar in terms of desirability with school districts, new construction, and distance to the downtowns, really.
Yeah. And the amount of PF Changs per square inch,
right.
I think. Sorry.
There's some, like I've been out in Woodbury a couple of times and I'm seeing some, all right, it's not all Applebee's out here anymore.
Yep, and a lot of our clients in Woodbury, there's a good food scene or a decent food scene in Hudson and Stillwater.
Yeah,
and it's
for
only 15 minutes away.
Yes.
And post-COVID, people are gravitating out that way versus into St. Paul.
Yep. And it's like Stillwater's a cool little area to be. Like, if that's your
Stillwater's
hub.
great.
I was just there this morning.
Like, if you can work remotely and that's your hub.
Actually, I came from Stillwater to here,
Yeah.
Okay, well, we got to wrap this up pretty quick, even though I feel like we keep talking to you forever. What are you noticing in terms of, like, because I notice traffic is, like, what happened to 62, man? Like, 62 used to be, like, my joint to be, like, because I live in South Minneapolis.
494 is what happened
That's
to 62.
why. Is
the construction on 494 broke 62. I shouldn't give you this tip. But actually, 494, since people have all migrated over to 62, has actually gotten better.
No way.
And the traffic's gotten lighter on 494.
Edit that shit out, Casey. Is that going to unbreak, though, once 494 finishes?
No way.
Whatever it's going to finish?
Yeah,
permanently broken.
Hopefully. But it's amazing how many of our clients even have been avoiding 494, not knowing that actually 494 now has been flowing more smoothly as 62 is broken.
What are your opinions on the zipper merge?
Oh, I do it even in places where Minnesotans would want to slice me for doing it.
Because I have a theory that Minnesotans, maybe all Midwesterners, but definitely Minnesotans, are contributing to traffic more than they know by not having a friggin' clue what a zipper merge is.
And getting mad at people for doing it.
And getting mad at people,
it
flick me off.
Bizarre. Because there has been so much focus on the zipper merge in the last couple of years.
Not enough.
That it seems like you should know, if you drive a car, you should know how to do it at this point.
Yep.
But there are so many people who just sit there for miles and miles and miles on backups. Well, there's a whole lane that's open that goes like
just gonna slowly
40 feet below the line, and you can like.
I also don't think it's safe to sit in a backup.
No.
In those kind of situations, and so I won't put my vehicle or my customers in that position to get rear-ended at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why zipper merge is for safety.
I want to know how you keep your sanity driving, because I am from the East Coast.
Yeah.
And I'm. As my wife would put it, an aggressive driver. I just think I'm a good driver, but like she would say aggressive.
Sure.
But I also like find myself like if I was in a car full time, I would want to kill people all day, every day.
You just got to have the Chey
mentality.
Yeah,
do you have to go? Are you just a Zen person to begin with? Are you able to just?
Well, it depends on how much sleep I've had. If I've had sleep,
what's your sleep schedule?
I have horrible. I have the patience of a Hindu cow in Bombay traffic. But if I'm underslept, No, I'm just kidding. But I can't actually, in my business, I can't let traffic, I have to plan for traffic. I have to schedule for traffic, plan for the unexpected. I can't get
cool
worked up
times.
about traffic. Like you need to be chill so that your customers are chill.
Sure.
Like I took some people to the airport this week that said something interesting. We love using you because you're so calming. And I thought, I've never thought of myself as calming. But the travel experience is stressful for them.
Yeah.
And if they know I'm going to be there and I'm always early and I have a good conversation and humorous on the way to the airport, it sets the tone of their travel.
Sure.
And they aren't getting stressed out about driving and finding a parking spot at the airport, and they can't find a parking spot and they have to drive to Terminal 2 and take the train over. And so I get what they're saying. But I can't get worked up about traffic because then that would take away from that is my job is to be a calm driver.
Sure. Totally.
So even if I want to, I can't.
Is your car still experiential? Like you probably don't have the disco ball anymore.
No, but it's experience. It's an experience in a different way. Like people, want to know, like, Chey, what are you seeing in the economy? How is your backseat polling politically?
Right.
So it's
It's
still
a
an
personal
experience
relationship
in a
experience.
different way.
Okay.
Like,
what is a backseat telling you about the election? Is like 65-35 Kamala or
so
not?
Trump is polling at the lowest he's polled in a decade in my car. However, I will say it's been harder to pull out that people are voting for him this year than it was in 2020 or 2016. So in 2016 and 2020, I could just straight up ask people, like my Republicans, or even people I don't know if they're Republican or not, and they would just tell me. This year, I have to walk them down a path and almost box them into a corner and have it fall out of them.
Sure.
And then once it falls out that they're admitting they're voting for Trump, then I try to dig into the whys.
Sure.
And Trump, I would say right now, in my backseat is probably polling somewhere around 30%. I've ran 3 polls on Twitter, and on Twitter he's been polling between like 18 and 23%, so lower actually than in my car. But that doesn't entirely surprise me because not everybody's on Twitter and everybody whatever. And people are being much more secretive about their support of him. But the good news is, at least locally, that he's polling lower than he has previously.
Wow. That's a good bit of information.
Political guru and future seer, in addition to...
No.
Well, speaking of back seats, before we let you go, I know your time is valuable, but do you have any like NC-17 stories about like anything that's happened in the back seat in over the years?
NC-17.
Well, anything like where you've been like, what just happened? What's going on?
Like, what's the
like,
craziest
is it
situation?
drugs? Is it nudity?
That's a whole other podcast.
I know. That's like an
right?
hour,
A lot.
right?
So the kinds of things that you're talking about that happened in the cab are different. That like shocking things that happened in my cab were like, the stripper leaving the scene of a murder, and then then her boyfriend who did the murder, like going from motel to motel every night thinking he was hiding from the cops. Like that's the kind of like taxi type story. On the car service side, there's shocking things that happen, whatever, but oftentimes they're at a higher level.
CEO hiding from the scene of a murder and going to Vegas thinking he's...
Right.
No, so it's a different type of shocking. You know what I mean? Like, and sometimes you're really close to a news story. Here's what's fascinating about what I do is I might drive the people who are the news story, or the people who made the decision, or are the people or know
like
the things.
lawmaker or something.
Like I drive everybody. So sometimes like I might have 0 degrees of separation between me and a significant event, a news story, etc., or a big decision that was made, and that's an interesting thing. Like I knew about Walls 7 p.m. Monday.
That's what I was just going to ask
7
you.
p.m. Monday night, and I couldn't even, my reporter friends didn't even have the information. I couldn't even get a double confirmation. Now I had a source inside the Biden administration, but like I couldn't even get anyone local. There's a senator a state senator who's on one of our text chains, and he was at the event that Walls was at that night. He didn't even know. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody knew.
A network of like drivers like in an espionage sort of like MI5 kind of
that's
way.
a
They're
movie.
like, do you have this network of people that like are sharing information throughout the city? And
No, but I will tell you, around the country, I have heard that there are a number of chauffeurs who are FBI informants, just because of like
what they're privy to.
That-
in some cases.
Diddy's driver
Yeah.
must be fucking super well paid by the FBI.
Oh man.
Sorry if I.
Did you ever?
She's like, I drove him 3 weeks
I'm
ago.
guessing, obviously, your safety concerns are gone now. But
Yes.
were they pretty considerable when you were driving
More
the
than I
cab?
could have ever imagined. Like,
Yeah.
there's a reason why. Actually, when I was driving cab, we were like number 3 in the nation for most dangerous cities to drive a cab in. Like, you wouldn't think Minnesota as dangerous, but we were like number 3rd in terms
Outside of Augie's
in terms
at
of like
Saturday night-
in
on
terms of
Saturday
like
night.
violence and homicides against cab drivers and things.
Oh, man.
And I believe it. I mean, I had my first gun pulled on me December of 29. I started Halloween weekend of 2009, and so a month and a half after starting, I had my first gun pulled on me on the west side of St. Paul, 600 block of I want to say Stryker, but no, I'm not, like 600 block of.
Oh, on the west side. Okay.
On the west side, yeah. I'm trying to think what that street is that goes up. I could look at a map and know, but yeah.
Smith?
But it was the west side of St. Paul.
Wow.
And so yeah, I mean, it genuinely, there's a reason why you don't see female cab drivers. It truly is a dangerous job. And
That's what I always think about when I was thinking about your origin story.
Yeah, so I'm very, like, even though it was fascinating to drive a cab, fascinating. It's fascinating, but in a whole, like, more in like a TED Talk sort of way now. Like every day is like an interesting podcast in my car. Like, we have this one client, he works for the feds and he investigates crop insurance fraud. And like, how fascinating, like all these aspects to crop insurance fraud. I grew up on a farm and I've learned so much from him. And it's like you have these people who are experts in their field, like telling you all these things, and that's what's fascinating now about what I do. It's fascinating in a different way, but thankfully it's more safe.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can
much
imagine.
more safe.
I don't have to worry about people leaving the scene of a murder in my car.
Are you aware that if the opportunity ever presents itself, that you could write a book and it would be like a New York Times bestseller? Has that ever crossed your mind?
Well, people push me all the time to write a book.
Do they? Okay. 'Cause that's what I'm thinking.
Here's the thing. I hate writing. I'm terrible at writing.
Hire a ghostwriter, baby.
Oh my gosh, post-COVID, do you know how much they go for? Pre-COVID, I got some quotes for a ghostwriter, and a good one was like 50 grand. Now, because of all the boomers writing their memoirs, a good ghostwriter can be 200 grand. I can't afford that. I'm just a limo driver.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, I could probably do some sort of like crowdsourcing in the sense of like, I know people who are, I know reporters, I know people, maybe they could help me. I have clients that have volunteered to edit a book for me. And so, but I'm very insecure about my writing skills.
Sure.
It's really unfortunate because I have tremendous content.
You do.
But I have no writing skill. So what do?
You just dictate the whole thing.
You're
As we discussed earlier,
You're a true
Amy doesn't
Midwesterner.
read.
You're just constantly second guessing yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah, thanks for
Chey,
coming
for
by.
stopping by.
Yeah.
This
is episode 4, right?
This is episode 4.
Oh my gosh.
We're just getting started.
Yeah,
Baby
you're our
podcasters.
third guest. We're baby podcasters.
Love it.
It'll be up on all platforms tomorrow: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. What's the other one?
There's lots of them.
There's lots of them.
Everywhere podcasts are consumed.
Yes.
Podbean,
If you have any
wherever.
questions, whether it be real estate related, if you have questions for Chey, we can get them to her. Feel free to
Chey
go.
Car.
Chey Car. If
Chey
you have any
Car.
questions for Chey or us, you can go to thismustbetheplacepod@gmail.com, or you can call and leave a voicemail at
612-234-1889. Say
Thanks
what's up.
again for joining us. Thanks again to Chey, and
Yeah.
we will talk to you next week.
Next week.